I know Darren McCarty and Lindsey Hunter yesterday and Braylon Edwards last week with me. I know you guys don't like talking about yourselves, but I do have to ask you. I remember covering you guys during that incredible stretch. The thing that I noticed most about your championship teams was not just sometimes we overuse the word aura, but the confidence that you had. And like every single day, whether I was at practice or after a game, I noticed you guys felt, it was undaunting. There's no way that other team's going to beat us. Every once in a while, it's going to happen. You're not going to go 82-0 in hockey. You're not going 17-0 in football, unless you're the Dolphins in 72. But my point is, there is a feeling that I think even permeates outside a locker room when you watch an elite team perform. How do you notice any of that characteristic with the Lions today?
It's moments. It's getting through different things. Ours was like when you say that, I ask you, was this pre-March 26, 97 or post?
I would say even pre, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Because it was still learning. To us, March 26, 97, the fight night at the Joe, the Lemieux thing, winning that game.
T-shirt.
Yeah. And the whole Red Wing, like, wing-wheeled nation, not just in the team, but especially in the team. Yeah. It's that it's going to be all right. That deep breath, don't know what it means, it's going to be all right. That was, like, for us, the galvanizing of we weren't too European, we weren't too right. Like, that was the one where we had each other's backs, and it was so, you know what I'm saying? That galvanizes your team, too.
Okay, yeah.
Now, in football, it's different ways. I think the biggest galvanization is set in history. Like, for bringing something that hasn't been done in generations, in decades. Right? So this Lions team, like you said, can separate themselves from all the rest in the past by just winning this first game.
Okay.
Now it's are you set up? Was it because to me, winning that first playoff game and hosting it, that wasn't the Super Bowl to them. Obviously not to the fans, but sometimes when you're trying to overachieve, you see that teams get complacent. We're not complacent. There's a path here. The Booner path, so to speak.
Booner path.
But the fact is they know right now it's legitimate. Right in front of them. So you got to take this. Like, for us,
they
back
know
in the
they're
day,
good. They
we
know they're
own
really
teams.
good. Right.
We own the Chicagos and the St. Louis's and the Phoenix, Arizonas. And so even to that point, Dallas and stuff like this, right? Colorado was the only one that we knew was going to be a heavyweight tilt back and forth. Mm-hmm. But everybody else, you had that confidence because you had that sort of history. So to us, it's sort of like those moments, but it's learned. And for us, we learned by what? Losing. You know, you mentioned during the break, you said, do athletes really, like, say Baker Mayfield's not going to cost, me this? And I'm like, absolutely. Arthur Zerbe in 02 wasn't. And then you said, well, he did in 93. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, we were young and we weren't going to let it happen again. So he got us with San Jose and didn't get us again.
Right.
But to that point, yes. Yes, and usually it's because I'll break it down, and I don't know in football if it goes like this, but I think because of matchups, right? I'd be matched up, and it'd usually be like the number 3 or 4 defenseman guy, right? That was my guy, right? Was it him or was it me, right? I was going to take his will out of this series, hitting him every time I got in his face, stuff like that. Now everybody else was going to get the equal opportunity, but I had to focus on that guy. Mm-hmm. So, again, game plan, preparation. You mentioned, questions in our coaching. Does anybody have questions in this coaching staff? And I see it in the chat thread, too. People, I don't care how many yards we give up. We're bend but don't break. I don't, it doesn't matter who goes off. That's sort of the thing. But when we need a stop, what happens? We hold them to 3, or we find a way to get a stop. Mm-hmm. Anybody talk about the biggest play, right, of the game was the Hutch holding call.
Yeah.
Because it pulled them out of field goal range, and then they were able to stop them on third down. But so Spenny, what did I say the other day? How many times did I say it? Big players make big plays in big moments. Mm-hmm. Who made your biggest plays in big moments? Hutch, right? Then you had C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Cam Sutton all over that ball, which if you want to go ebbs and flows, and I know back getting upset about the offsides late in the first half that we got called a false start where everybody – but we don't worry about the refs. If you want to go, did you see a little jersey tug at the end?
Yeah, they played
it evened out.
Yeah.
Right? And then who finishes it off? Shep, 4-minute drill.
Yeah.
Right? I know in football, because I hear that teams practice a 4-minute drill and a 2-minute drill.
Right.
You saw us execute that 4-minute drill by our two. Who'd you put the balls in the hands of? Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Right. Yep.
Those are statements. Those are, give me the, that's Fedorov, give me that puck.
Look, I love that. I really do. I would just say, I think there's a lot of people going, why the hell are you throwing the football to Amon St. Brown when you could basically run it, take a knee and run it out? And I think it's basically Dan Campbell saying, you know what? Screw this. This is who we are. I am not going to deter from what we are, what we do, when we do it, and how we do it. And that's something that I love about him, too. It wasn't long ago where we were getting complaints about Dan Campbell going for certain situations, running fake punts, and doing things that fans didn't agree with. Because why? Because the Lions lost. What we have to understand and what we have to agree to is that this is who they are. This is their identity. This is what's made them successful. And at times, it's also a wart. Every team in every sport at every level goes through it.
Absolutely. And break down the game. What was one of the biggest, most crucial plays? 4th down, goal, and you go trips right, and who do you go to? Mm-hmm. The guy we didn't know who was going to play or not or
Sam
whatever.
Laporta.
You know, to me, that's huge too. You see Sam Laporta and obviously being in there and stuff like that. Didn't tear the roof off, you know, had a touchdown catch, had a couple possessions, but his blocking, right? Mm-hmm. Where you see that. It's so the fact is everybody's doing what they need to do to get on the field. They're not going to be deterred by the way that they do it, right? Dan Campbell isn't. Spenny, what do we sit here during the second half of the year and go, wow, the 4th downs aren't executing like they were last year earlier in the season. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to change from the way that he coaches. And it's all about execution. And what do? When we needed it, we executed. That's what you got to continue to do.
Yeah, the discussion about Goff and the discussion about this team and where it's at, okay? Well, you know, we've talked about the matchup in Tampa. It's a team that blitzes 40% of the time, I believe, among the most in all the NFL. I don't see that being an issue. I mean, this is where Jared Goff's experience and this is where his knowledge and his football IQ really come into, because he and Frank Ragnow are calling everything at that line of scrimmage in an effort to protect him. So I'm not worried about that at all. I do worry about turnovers. I'm not afraid to say that. Like when he was shoveling that one away the other day against the Rams, it was concerning. It's so important to treasure the football. It's really the same in every sport, right? You want to treasure the puck in hockey. You want to treasure it in basketball. I get all that. But I think if you looked at the entire playoffs, and this goes back to me saying, look, they've won 12 games. We got to remember. I would venture to guess most people outside of Detroit are looking at it going, I would guess Baltimore, San Francisco, Detroit. That's how good this team is. That's how fortunate we are right now. Does that mean they're going to win on Sunday against Tampa? No. But it does tell you what people think of what your football team is capable of right now. It's impressive.
No, it really is. And how can you not be in those conversations? As far as I would think that you're the odds-on favorite, you're the favorite at home, right? And stuff like this, but task at hand. But the fact is they're back to work. I think that you bring up that the fact that Frank Ragnow and Jared Goff and the fact that, Todd Bowles, you said this Tampa team, some of the best linebackers, you know, Winfield Jr. in the secondaries, all pro and stuff like this. They got players. But the fact is that, we got both our running backs are physical and they can pick up blocks. Our tight ends are some of the best blockers in the league and stuff like that. Yeah. So
and our wide receivers.
Well,
the wide receivers are really good blockers.
So to me, this sets up, like, look at early in that game. right? Early in this game, who was the key early in the game setting it up? Josh Reynolds.
Yeah.
Right? Josh Reynolds was, and then they worked Amon-Ra. Like, Amon-Ra just so quietly gets 80, 100 yards.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's not going to change. Right? Because
that's what they're saying in Tampa right now.
They're going to put the linebacker on him. And
what did you say earlier? You said, look, Mike Evans is going to get his.
Yeah.
Right? People in Tampa right now, what are they saying? Like, I'm not saying Brown's probably going to get his. Okay? They've got that double-headed monster as a running back in Montgomery and Gibbs. There is one guy who deserves a lot of credit, and I don't know if he's getting enough of it. We'll get into that when we come back.